The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Monday, October 6th, and today is National Coaches Day today.
Go team, go.
Yeah. Jesse, did you bring your whistle?
I did not bring my whistle.
It's also National Orange Wine Day.
Orange wine?
Yeah. I've never even heard of that.
I've seen some orange wine. Or maybe this is just for Democrats because they're always whining about the orange guy.
Like Mad Dog 2020?
Yeah, Mad Dog 20. Fair enough. It could be Mad Dog 2020. Never know. It's also National Plus Size Appreciation Day. I don't know about that one, but
would that be National Diabetes Day as well? Or?
To each their own.
Oh man. It's also National Noodle Day.
Of those noodles.
Yes. National German American Day.
All right.
Yes. Let's see. National Mad Dog 2020 Day, Michael. Ooh. No, it's close though. This is National Mad Hatter Day today.
What is that, a cocktail?
No, it's the Mad Hatter, bro, from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, right. Wait, we have a national day for the Mad Hatter?
That's
Mad Hatter is a thing too. I know there's an organization here. They do Mad Hatter events where you wear a crazy hat and stuff, and you go out and you have tea or whatever party.
You go out and have tea. Here, I'm gonna go and look this up so we can get some final confirmation on this. Hold on a second. Let's see.
It is about the character.
Yeah, when I looked at it, I thought it was about the character. Yep.
Oh, definitely about the character, but I think like people take what the character does and then have their own Mad Hatter type events.
October 6th is the day set aside.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
Well, October 6th is a day set aside each year to bring out your silly side while celebrating the National Mad Hatter Day. This fictional character, the Hatter, also known as the Mad Hatter from Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, is typically acting silly, and that is how the creators of this day decided on their theme of silliness for National Mad Hatter Day. Sir John Tennell illustrated Mad Hatter and all of Lewis Carroll's colorful characters beginning in 1864. And taking our inspiration from the Mad Hatter, or of any of Carroll's characters for that matter, we may pursue laughable, absurd, or even confusing adventures on National Mad Hatter Day. Break out from the usual routine, ask ridiculous riddles, much like the Hatter's own, like, why is a raven like a writing desk?
That's what I said.
Yeah, play croquet with plastic pink flamingos, or wear a funny hat to work. Celebrate the day with silliness, they say.
That's awesome. You know what other kind of day it is? It's my daughter's 19th birthday.
Oh,
my oldest daughter.
Happy birthday to your oldest daughter. And your youngest son had a birthday over the weekend too, didn't he?
2 days ago. Yeah, they're 2 days apart on their birthdays.
Look at that. Man,
Yep.
Jesse, this sounds expensive for you.
That's correct.
Speaking of which, it's also National Consignment Day. I feel like that should be for the cannabis industry, right? National Consignment Day.
What's the consignment that the cannabis?
Because
industry is
that's
doing?
how everyone gets their product for the most part is on consignment.
Oh, yeah.
And it is also finally National Child Health Day today.
May all our children be healthy.
Yes, maha for the kiddos. That's for sure. That is for sure. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And, man, I'm just going to roll right into it because we have a lawsuit coming out of Ohio that claims that Ohio marijuana rules on advertising. Oh, wait a second. Hold on a second. That's not how I said that we were going to do this.
That's not how you said we were going to do this.
I apologize. We are going to start this show off with Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Barney Design Co., who can take your brands to the highest plateaus all day and every day. He can teach you a thing or two about your brand, what your brand is intended to do, and how customers can best relate with your brand. It is none other than Mr. Jesse Barney.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Appreciate the introduction.
Sorry about that.
My first story, and I have 2 hemp stories today.
Yes.
Very similar hemp stories from 2 different states. But the first one comes out of Wisconsin from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. And the headline is this: Wisconsin bill redefines hemp, tightens THC limits to crack down on intoxicating products on store shelves.
Oh, boy.
And I'm not going to read the whole article because it's pretty long for what it is. It's really simple. 2 representatives, Lindy Brill and Jim Pawłowczyk. I don't know how to say that Polish name, but it's kind of close. They introduced a bill on September 30th to ban basically all hemp-derived THC analogs, whatever they are, and only leave CBD legal. So they're pushing this forward. They're working on this. It's clearly going to be a fight because the only legal weed that Wisconsin has right now is hemp. So there's a ton of business going on behind it, which is interesting because this actually interfaces with our conversation about people possibly crossing over into Michigan for illegal weed and buying cannabis from dispensaries there. But they're also getting this legal hemp. So they're trying to shut it down pretty much completely. The bill introduces a 0.3% cap for any THC, whether it's THCA, THC, Delta 9, Delta 8, whatever it is. No product can have over 0.3%. So here we go. This is just going to go from state to state to state. The hemp fight is coming down the line these 2 guys, and actually it's a lady and a guy, they call it a hemp loophole. So I'll toss it over to my fellow correspondents and see what everybody thinks.
I hate that they always use that word loophole because it's not a loophole. That's totally ridiculous that they even call this that. I have a problem with that. You know.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, it's not a loophole. This was definitely the intent of that, and you know, I totally believe in states' rights, but I don't believe in government overreach, and I feel that this is a big government overreach. I mean, we already have it, you know, basically default legal in through the Farm Bill, and this is just a government overreach of this legislature trying to control the people on products that they want to buy, and all they're going to do is create an illicit market in their state for these products that law enforcement is never going to be able to combat. I mean, because the reality is, even if you make local penalties for these things, it's going to all be slaps on the wrist. It's not going to be like, felony go to jail charges as if it was like federally illegal. This is just ridiculous.
You'd hope to say that, but that's what's happening in Florida right now. People are getting arrested for hemp products and THCA hemp and Delta 8 hemp and stuff like that. So it is weird how they do this. That's a challenge, obviously, we're going through, because I feel like that interferes with interstate commerce.
It does.
Even if the state doesn't want to sell those products, they shouldn't be able to prevent people from having them.
Exactly. Exactly, Michael. I don't understand how they can legally do it. I can see how they could regulate the commerce, but I don't see how they could stop people from doing it, and how they're going to be able to stop people from just ordering it direct to consumer to their door.
Yep. And this is crazy chaos of cannabis.
It's a gross overreach. That is for sure.
Well, it's for the children, so it's for the children. Alcohol can be everywhere, but we got to keep the children safe.
Well, we need. I guess we need more weed for the people on that. You know what I'm saying, Michael?
Yes.
Oh man, Jesse. You have any final thoughts on this story, Jesse, before we move on?
I just think that the hemp industry needs to be careful. I think that if you're engaging in hemp products or creating hemp brands, and if you're creating a hemp brand, hit me up. but if you're creating products like that, you really need to be careful of what you're doing and why. And this is right now, it's Wild West. So it's up to the industry itself to police itself, which is seemingly nearly impossible. But I think if you are in it, you should be doing the best that you can, because every little crossing of any kind of line is just going to make this rollback from state to state happen, and it's going to make your industry very, very, very difficult. So
what is happening, and I know that the people in here in the hemp industry believe it's happening for one reason at all, and one reason only. It's because the MSOs are the ones that don't want the competition.
That you think interesting thought. You think interesting thought right there. But there's not a lot of MSOs in Wisconsin, is there?
There's none. That's the thing, is Wisconsin's a unique state because they don't have a medical or a recreational law. So Wisconsin's still fully illegal. So hemp is the only way that they're getting any kind of cannabis. So there is no competition there. And that's what's interesting about this, is the only industry in cannabis or hemp or marijuana, whatever the legal term is. And this is another problem, is that every state is defining these three terms in different ways in legal definitions. And those legal definitions don't necessarily match up with the federal legal definitions of those three terms. So it's getting kind of tricky as far as that goes.
Michael, and you do mention that a lot of these MSOs are, kind of hemp prohibitionists, but a lot of these MSOs have hemp brands. And so I guess I guess that a lot of these hemp brands are realizing that their brand isn't really worth anything unless they're in a controlled small market with zero competition, because obviously customers aren't resonating with those products and buying them, because the hemp market is an open free trade market. And so if they're not able to compete in that space, I guess that's why they want to have these closed markets and these major regulatory barriers.
And I thought I did, but it looks like Wisconsin lawmakers have moved to kind of introduce legislation just not too long ago regarding it. So this could be kind of as well a preemption issue for the people who are getting into the medical market. But yeah, we've seen that here in Florida. I was amazed when I heard that Curaleaf was closed, and I haven't been out to it yet. Curaleaf closed their store in downtown West Palm Beach for medical marijuana to open their hemp store. And they were at a conference that I was at this weekend, Curaleaf Hemp. So, I think they realize it is, but exactly that, especially in an area like that where there's a lot of foot traffic and there's a lot of, people that are downtown otherwise partying. Here you go. Now you got a hemp store where you can go in and get your hemp drink and walk throughout the city with it with no restrictions.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But it doesn't seem like people are really resonating with their brand. Maybe they should be hiring Jesse Barney to help them out with something like this. Yeah.
Again, it's just that the absurdity of this plant being illegal and controlled on not like alcohol or tobacco. It's really where we have to move to, and hopefully this great president will do that.
Oh, yes. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back. Did that work? We're going to probably need to...
Which one do you want me to do first?
And we are back, you guys, and man, I have a fun story for you guys today, because there's a lawsuit coming out of Ohio that claims that Ohio marijuana rules on advertising products violate a voter-backed law, you guys. That's right. Ohio marijuana companies sued regulators over product and advertising rules, saying they're too strict and violate the law approved by voters. Cleveland-based Ancient Roots, Akron-based Fire Rock, and 5 other businesses filed the lawsuit September 17th against the Division of Cannabis Control, which oversees the state's marijuana program. The move came nearly 2 years after Ohioans legalized adult-use marijuana in the November 2023 election. Adult-use marijuana sales began back in August of 2024, and the lawsuit contends Ohio is requiring companies to follow outdated guidance from the medical company's program that doesn't comply with the new law. In a quote, "I thought we would have seen a little bit of growth and more people would know and understand what's going on," said Brian Wingfield, co-founder of Ohio Cannabis Company, one of the businesses that sued. "It would be a lot nicer if we were running under an adult use program," he says. A spokesperson for the Division of Cannabis Control declined to comment on pending litigation, but the lawsuit blasts Ohio Marijuana Agency for strict, confusing rules. The voter-backed law, known as Issue 2, gave the division until September of 2024 to issue dual-use licenses for businesses already in the medical market, and it also instructed regulators to set rules for licensing, advertising, product standards, and more. The rulemaking process hasn't gone as quickly as business owners hoped, and the legislature's ongoing debate over whether to change the marijuana law stalled the division's work. Superintendent Jim Canepa told the State House Bureau in July that Canepa said regulators have cranked it back up, they said, and don't drag their feet. The division has drafted rules for products and advertising, and with an emphasis on ensuring they don't appeal to children. In August, the agency issued long-awaited guidance allowing companies to manufacture and sell pre-rolled joints. And in their complaint, marijuana operators said the division created unnecessary hurdles and uncertainty over what is and isn't allowed. The state told Ohio Cannabis Company that it can't include the phrase "Merry Christmas" in advertisements or promote holiday deals, in part because holidays are geared toward children. No, they're not. They're geared towards women, according to court documents. It's crazy.
They're geared towards companies.
Yeah. Geared toward capitalism. Officials also rejected certain names for cannabis strains, including strawberry shortcake, candy cane with K's, and Shadow Realm. Shadow Realm, that must be a video game. According to the lawsuit, Ohio prohibits companies from naming strains after flavors that aren't naturally found in cannabis because it could make products attractive to children. Oh man. So I guess strawberry blunt cake would be approved then, right? But business owners say these restrictions confuse customers and fly in the face of industry standards. In the affidavit, Wellspring Field CEO Mark Hobson said the company is perpetually operating in a state of confusion and unaware if something allowed yesterday will be permitted tomorrow. Because there is no current statutory framework, Hobson said. The DCC is constantly moving the goalposts, preventing licenses like us from having a fair shot to operate in the free market, he says. Well. These guys are trying to regulate things that occur naturally. But the thing about it is that terpenes in cannabis are the same terpenes in food, and so how I feel like they're just going to have a tough one with this one. I think these cannabis companies might have found a lawsuit that they're actually going to win against the state on this one. But we shall see. What do you think about this, Michael?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the state law if there is anything specifically in there about it, but it becomes difficult, as far as state control over these types of issues. Mm-hmm. And we've seen a couple other states where they've prevented these advertisements, and I know they consider it, continue to consider it to the kids, but I looked it up and it's a Sweetwater Punch IPA, fruit punch, gummies that they're packaging and stuff. I mean, I don't know how it's a beer. Realistically, besides it says IPA on it, but otherwise it screams to you, this is a gummy type soft drink like a Sunkist or something like that. And I just think the hypocrisy of the whole situation of responsibility and education and parent oversight is being foreshadowed and just pushed aside. And says, well, we have to regulate these things like this or else kids are going to get them. And you don't have to be 21 plus to go in the supermarket, at least in Florida, where you can buy beer and stuff like that. So I think it's disgusting, and honestly, it just continues to be a bias towards cannabis.
It's ridiculous. Jesse, what do you think about this, bro? How does this affect your brand? Strawberry blunt cake.
Well, I've long taken issue with that in the branding world. It's one of the things that I would advise any cannabis company not to do is just avoid anything that might even look like it's intended for children. So if it's a candy, if it's a cake, if it's a sweet thing, if it's a character, if it's a cartoon, if it's an illustration, these things are just, you can try to flirt with the line and you can try to be like the exception, or which is probably just going to cause you problems down the line. Or you could just avoid it altogether and be smart and do something smarter and different. Especially, I mean, when you're using the term strawberry shortcake, that's actually a trademarked character. So eventually somebody's going to pick it up, and the owners of the strawberry shortcake trademark are going to probably come after you for putting packaging out with that name. So things like that I would just avoid altogether. That part is that on the branding side, but on the other side,
what about Merry Christmas, Jesse?
What's that?
What about Merry Christmas? I feel like we might need to get the president involved in this, because he was the one that brought Christmas back to people saying Merry Christmas again.
Well, that's not a trademarked term.
Is strawberry shortcake trademarked?
Probably.
Yeah, of course. There was a character. It was a character. It has to be trademarked.
The cartoon character is probably trademarked, I'm sure.
There's a
there's tons of merch. There's tons of merch out there, and there's still, I like some of my daughters who are teenagers, they still buy and wear strawberry shortcake stuff. So it's definitely a trademarked word. And if you're making anything with packaging or print, they are likely to come after you if they see you. So yeah, that's just not something. Look, again, it's like, can you flirt with that and maybe get away with it? Maybe, but is it worth it in the long run if they do tell you to cease and desist and you've got tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of product with packaging in it and you have to pull it all off the shelves and repackage it? Why? Just do your branding work up front and don't use terms like that. Avoid things that appeal to children, labels, terms, names, etc. And there's a whole bunch of other things that cannabis companies do all the time, using generic terms to the industry like green, holistic, apothecary, using the word cannabis and breaking it up into like Canna Bliss or Canna Fam Pharmacy, like all these things that are super generic and super common. If you Google them, there's one of those names in every single state, if not dozens of those names in every single state, which means you're just not being original. And this has been a problem for cultivators for a long time, especially seed growers who are creating new strains and new cultivars. I shouldn't say strain. Is that they don't really do their homework on naming something and what it means in the long run of trademarking once this is actually legal.
What about like something like fly high like Rudolph, Jesse?
I would avoid high, highest, higher. Those words are all used a million times. Mm-hmm. So you're just diluting your brand potential and making it so that you're just being generic. Mm-hmm. And the number one rule of branding is don't be generic. Be bold, stand out, be different. Find something that is unique and different. And using these generic terms that everybody uses, you're not the first person to try to be clever with the word high. Mm-hmm. Don't think that you are. Like, if you think that you're being clever with the word high, you're fooling yourself and being, well, a fool.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you're filing for a trademark, you have to disclaim that you're not saying you have a right specifically to that word, mm-hmm. In the name or anything. So I totally agree with that. People definitely have to come up with something original and, don't follow the path that everyone else is using if they actually want to trademark it and to be able to defend that trademark as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I should caveat that you could technically maybe use a generic term and then only trademark an image or an icon of a logo and but the problem is, again, you're running into it's generic. People are going to have a hard time remembering something that's generic. How many green wellness apothecaries can you have? Mm-hmm. There's a million of them. They exist all over this country. You could search those terms, green, wellness, and apothecary, and you're going to pull up like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dispensaries and shops and brands and products. Mm-hmm. Just avoid that stuff.
Mm. Interesting. Well. We are going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right in to Mr. Michael Minardi. He's the founder of Minardi Law out in the great red state of Florida. He's been helping cannabis businesses, hemp companies, and anyone that's getting wrapped up in a case. And he might have a freer workload based off some things that he's going to talk about today. But he's been helping patients and caregivers and people in the great red state of Florida for over the past 20 years at his law firm, Minardi Law. It is none other than Mr. Michael Minardi.
Good morning to everyone on the West Coast and happy high noon to everyone on the East Coast. Interesting, and I hope that this law does not pass. And this is about Michigan, what I think is one of the best industries in the country right now. Cannabis industry warns of fallout from new 24% Michigan marijuana tax. The measure passed the Senate by our narrow 19-70 vote as part of the larger budget framework. Michigan cannabis industry leaders are sounding the alarm about an impending 24% wholesale tax on marijuana that is set to take effect in January, warning it could drive consumers to the illegal market and put small operations out of business. It's like a gut punch to the industry, Al Williams, president of the Detroit Cannabis Industry Association, said. We're already overtaxed from the federal government. We were already taxed heavily from the state government. And now to have a 24% increase, a lot of people are going to figure out whether this industry is worthwhile. The new tax, as part of a state budget passed by the Michigan House and Senate early Friday, aims to generate an estimated $420 million annually for road construction and repairs. The measure passed by the Senate 19-17. Williams, who heads several dispensaries throughout Michigan, including Descartes dispensary in Detroit, warned consumers will see significant price increases started in the new year. In some cases, it's going to be $3 to $4 per gram of an increase. He said, your gummies are going to go up, anything that's processed is going to go up, and of course, regular flour is going to go up too. Industry leaders argue the tax increase will push more consumers towards purchasing unregulated black market products. Williams pointed out that dispensaries already face steep costs to maintain regulatory compliance. We're already getting beat over the head by Cannabis Industry Regulatory Authority with basic fees. It costs me $10,000 to $20,000 if I have to misprint on one of my tags. Williams said the new tax could be a major hit for smaller operations, especially in urban areas. With Michigan cannabis market already oversaturated, industry leaders predict the additional tax burden could be breaking point for some businesses. Williams pointed to California Governor Newsom's recent decision to roll back the 25% increase in California's legal industry. People are going to lose their jobs, unfortunately. Some small growers, especially here in urban cities like Detroit and Flint, are not going to be able to survive. In an interview with Local 4, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer said, while she's sympathetic to the burden the tax is putting on cannabis businesses, the tax is comparable to other states where marijuana is legalized. The 24% actually makes us commensurate with other states in our region, Whitmer said. It's not out of line, and it's not even close to the tobacco tax on products or taxes on alcohol. So I don't actually know what the taxes on tobacco and alcohol are out there, but I feel like 24% is absolutely enormous. This seems to be like a good industry that is stable with reasonable prices for one in the country. And I think that this is a travesty and another way just to kind of dampen this industry and put it out of business. And I do see a lot of states, dispensaries, as we know, some have already pulled out of Michigan because of being oversaturated, are definitely going to be hurt by this. And the one-off and two-off stores are probably going to end up going out of business as a result. And I think it's against capitalism, and I think it's disgusting.
Wow. Get him, Michael. Get him. Yeah, this is basically the best way to shoot yourself in the foot. You know what I mean? When you have a good market going right now, and now all of a sudden they're just going to totally totally torpedo it. I do expect Governor Whitmer to sign this bill as well, Michael. That is something that she was advocating for in the beginning. I do find it also kind of humorous the fact that they think that this tax is going to garner them $420 million to put towards this $2 billion that they need for road repairs in Michigan and fixing potholes, so to say.
Well, you know why they're calculating that?
What was?
Because the industry in Michigan was $3 billion 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So a quarter of $3 billion.
I know. I just find it interesting that the number came up to be 420. I just find that humorous.
Oh, they did that on purpose.
That's
for
all.
Sure.
Yeah,
right?
that's all.
It's right there on the actual quarter mark, so they rounded it to it.
Yeah. I just find that truth is stranger than fiction. You know what I'm saying? You know that one.
It looks like from this, just, obviously we have to Google things. It looks like 6% tail tax is the normal. They add for distilled spirits, they add an additional 10.8% tax. And wine is taxed at 13.5% if below 16% alcohol beverage content and 20% if it's over 16%. So it would make it a 19.5 or potentially 26% on some products, seemingly. So, I don't know if that's consistent. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. That looks like that was published April of 2025. But, they just got to get some money elsewhere instead of having to continue to rely on the cannabis industry to, solve the financial pitfalls created by Democratic governors.
Yep. Exactly right. That's what the Democrats love to do: overtax, overregulate, and they're going to basically regulate this economy out of the state. They're going to be pushing all these Michiganders to go buy their trees and have to buy tenths in Ohio.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think that's part of the interesting part is even with a 25% tax, they'll still have the cheapest cannabis in the region.
Interesting. I mean, but. I don't know if as a consumer, if I was like a general consumer, and all of a sudden my cost on an eighth, let's just say, was $100, you know what I mean, and now all of a sudden it's going to be $125. I'm going to look to somewhere where I can find it for $80,
which is going to be the trap.
Exactly. maybe even 75. You know what I mean? Even if I have to double up and spend 150.
You know, you got to realize they also have caregivers out there with cultivation, right? So.
Yeah, there's some interesting aspects. There's a lot of nuance to this, Michael, because Michigan is one of the states that allows home grow. They also allow gifting of cannabis. So there is some underground competition from that that's very interesting. So that's an interesting nuance that's going to definitely impact the way this plays out. Another part of this is they literally do have the cheapest cannabis in the region. And I just researched this because we somewhat covered this story last week from a different angle. And that being the case, Jason, their average eighth price is more like $10 or $12 or under 20.
I know. I didn't want to.
So that's interesting too, because if it's $20, you're talking about a $4 increase from 20 to 24. Michigan is a very poor state. People have no money. $4 probably feels like 20.
Yeah, it's all relative though, right, Jesse? That's
right.
how I see it. It's all relative. Whether you're spending $20 or $100, it's all relative.
Right, but that's still interesting because across the border in Illinois or in Ohio, cannabis is like 5 times more expensive. So that's interesting. So even though it's $4 more for the average Michigan person, for the Ohioan or the Illinois person, it's still way cheaper. So why not drive a little bit and buy a whole bunch? You can buy quite a bit on the market, which is interesting. And then the other neighboring state, Wisconsin, it's completely illegal, as we just talked about earlier. So there's some really interesting nuances with this. I do see the state is going to pull money from the other states. I mean, that's going to happen. People are still going to drive over the border and spend a quarter of the price. Even though there's this giant increase, it's still a quarter of the price for the same amount. So people are still going to do that. And Michigan is going to pull money from Ohioans and Illinoisans and Wisconsinites.
And everybody who drives through the state.
And everybody else, yeah.
And I really think, honestly, Michigan is probably, from what I've seen, one of the cheapest states in the country.
Yeah.
Not just necessarily in that region. But, that was because
exactly.
An open market, right? And so they had an oversaturation of licenses and cultivation. I believe caregivers, I don't know if they still can. I know at one point they could sell to the dispensaries as well.
Yep.
They have high quality products as well, I think, compared to a lot of other states.
They do. Yep.
So I do think it's very interesting, but you're hurting the operators that are already hurting because there was a price, as we always say, right? The cannabis market is a race to the bottom. Well, they're at the bottom.
Yep.
They are the bottom.
So it's very difficult. It's very difficult for them to be able to then, exactly that, pay their employees, continue to expand with that additional tax. If any percent of those consumers are going to the black market or the illicit market or the gray market there. So, I just think that they should really look at their budgets, do a Doge type thing in every state and see what they really need to go after.
That would be great.
And stop hurting the citizens and the people of their states by increasing taxes on products, or maybe they could have an in-state, out-of-state tax. I don't know. If they want to do something like that.
That's what I think, Michael. They should have an out-of-state tax, and you know what I'm saying, and do it, and leave a tourist tax, so to say. That would make sense.
That makes accounting fun if you're a retail shop.
No, I mean, it's not that difficult. I mean, when you scan the person's ID, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna identify what state it's from, what state it's from, and it's gonna know that they're getting, you know what I'm saying, the out of state tax.
Kind of an interesting equal protection issue too, as to whether or not people are being treated differently under the law, and whether or not that would. I think that brings up my constitutional, grossness factors as well, right?
Well, and at the same time too, the only people I think that that your customer base that it would be difficult for them to determine or whatnot is if people use when you can get a passport card that's like a hard ID card, and if you use that or even just a regular passport as your ID to enter these places. You could. I know I would definitely say that I live in Michigan if that was the case. You know what I mean? Because your address isn't on your passport. That would be probably the workaround on that.
Yep. But then
John Lawler, who's in the comments, says he was at a Michigan dispensary an hour ago, and he talked to the bud tender, and they were both under the impression that this 24% is on top of the 14% they already have. Do we know if that's true or not?
I think that is the case. So it would make it 38%. 38%, yeah.
Do they tax anything else at that level?
Well, I know that they don't tax any other agricultural product at that rate, Jesse. Whether or not they tax
alcohol at that level, or cigarettes, tobacco?
I think cigarettes is a little bit higher than that. And then that's one of the things that they were using as a justification for this increase, is they were saying, hey, tobacco is taxed at this rate, and so it's not as high as tobacco.
So it says, at least again, quick, $2 per tax, and are taxed at 32% of their wholesale price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's going to be a little higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looks like, and then a 6% regular sales tax is on top of that as well.
Yeah.
Well, this is where I think, Yarrow brings this up a lot, and we miss him, by the way. We can't wait till he comes back in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Parity.
Yeah.
I love that concept, especially in America where we have so much regulation on so many different industries.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice if they would just think of this with parity, right? And it seems like they always want to take us to the cleaners and go way further than anything else. I mean, if cigarettes, which are one of the worst and most unhealthy products that we make and allow to be legal, if they're at 32% and then you're taxing cannabis at 38%, that's just not parity. That's crazy. It should be lower.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys.
Okay.
Well,
so this at least says cigarettes are $2 per 20 cigarette pack, and then other tobacco products are taxed at 32% of the wholesale price, not the retail price. So that's even worse. Totally different, right?
Yeah. That's hard.
Well, I guess it would be cheaper, right? If you're buying
cheaper for the consumer, right?
Yeah.
Cheaper for the consumer, but not for the business.
Yeah, I think sales tax are interesting, and they should just figure out a better way as well.
Yeah.
To generate revenue than just enormously taxing these, I guess, luxury products. What do they call them? Or vice products, right? In some states.
Yep.
It's a sin tax.
Sin tax, exactly. Yep. Sin tax. Well, on that, we're going to go and pay a couple bills, and we are going to be right back, you guys.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't. I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months. I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me. We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created. Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees? All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
Oh, and we're back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And, man, whatever you do, make sure you check out our 9/11 special featuring Congressman Kurt Weldon and Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, available on our YouTube page. It tells you everything that really happened leading up to 9/11.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfers, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
Do you run your own company?
Yes, and we are back, and we are going to roll right back into Mr. Jesse Barney, who has a second story today. I can't wait to hear about this. Mr. Jesse Barney.
All right. My second story comes out of Tennessee. The headline is this. Tennessee lawmakers amend bill that would regulate hemp sales and production, by Caitlin Quisenberry. A proposal to regulate hemp products like gummies and flour in Tennessee just took another step forward, but it's changing. Quote, in this bill as amended, these products will not be sold in a convenience store or a grocery store, unquote, said Representative William Lamberth, Republican out of Portland, Tennessee. I personally do not want to see in my community weed being sold next to the eggs and the milk. Come on, William. Since its first reading in February, this bill has quickly moved through the Senate and the House. The bill also includes a couple of other new rules for the hemp industry, including the banning of synthetic hemp and a ban on advertising hemp products as cures or treatments for any human illness. It would also make it illegal to ship directly to the consumer. Womp, womp, womp.
What?
Yep.
How can they
the
do
alcohol and the Alcoholic Beverage Commission, ABC, love that, would take over the state enforcement for retailers and wholesale. These are the folks who already regulate intoxicating liquors and intoxicating substances, Lamberth explained. Supporters of the bill say new labeling requirements will help law enforcement recognize legal versus illegal hemp products. This comes 1 year after a $1 million lawsuit was filed in Spring Hill after officers seized legal hemp products. It seemed like they thought that they had happened on a ton of marijuana, said SAK Wholesale and Old School Vapor CEO Sam Oshlin. A Franklin hemp business owner told News 2 this would hurt Tennessee's economy. Targeting that only impacts us with our family business and shops, but consumers are the ones losing in this, and the farmers. The agricultural industry has been decimated in this state for hemp. Owner and operator of Green Daisy in Franklin, Rodney Croteau, said, even over the last 4 years, they have made it very, very difficult for farmers in Tennessee to grow this flower legally. The ultimate decision could also hurt businesses. Everything you see behind me is primarily THC flower, Croteau explained. Flower is primarily the source of THCA and is a significant portion of our revenue. We know we are doing the right thing for the right reasons, and we think it will work out, Croteau said. But yeah, we lose sleep every night. Our entire lives are invested in this business, and we are watching it slowly get eroded and washed away. If it passes, this act will take effect on the 1st of January next year. Well, it's another state that's attempting to roll back and close the quote-unquote loophole for hemp and ban THC and other analogs of THC and get rid of them and stop people from participating in this loophole. So I'll toss it over to Michael and Jason to see what they think about this.
How are they going to stop this direct to consumer? How are they going to do this? I want to know how that would actually happen, because I just don't see how they can outlaw that. Or maybe they can make the law, but at the same time, how are they going to stop people from doing it? This is just crazy to me.
You know, I think that enforcement issue is going to be very interesting, and I guess it'll be someone, you know, a dog sniff going on a package and getting it in the mail, and then
come on, bro. It's not that difficult. You know, you get a smell-proof bag, You know what I'm saying? People use vacuum sealers. There's tons of ways to work around that. You know what I mean? You could put freaking dryer sheets in the box. You know what I mean? There's so many different things that you could do to mitigate the smell.
But I'm just saying, the only way I think that would end up happening is in that situation, right? Or
that's going to be such a waste of resources.
And they're like, oh,
you know what I would do?
Yeah.
I would pay. I would send like 100 boxes that were just empty to just random addresses that just had terpenes sprayed on them, just to create a diversion. That would be hysterical. You know what I'm saying? Just a whole bunch of T-shirts, just mailing them to different people. Spray the boxes with terpenes. I know. During 9/11, they started bringing dogs onto the BART train. Okay, and the dogs that they brought on the BART trains weren't necessarily bomb sniffing dogs. They were all drug canine units for drug dogs. And so all the hippies went and started just dumping tinctures on all the seats, and then all of a sudden, like, you have like some businessman getting wrapped up because all of a sudden the dog hit on the seat that the hippies had dumped the tincture on the day before. And so, you know, this is just a total cluster. This is totally unenforceable. This is totally ridiculous. It's not a smart move on their part.
Well, on the other side, I would say this: the chance, if you're trying to grow a business that's long term, and a lot of these hemp companies are not for that, right? Like, a lot of hemp companies, they're still in the green rush mode. They're trying to get as much money as they can as quickly as they can, which is one of the reasons they're building these hemp companies the way that they are. But if you're trying to build anything that's long term or wants to last, then you're not going to want to break this rule, right? You're going to actually want to go, okay, we're going to avoid Tennessee if they're going to pass this, and we're just going to focus on the other states that still allow us to sell direct to consumer.
No, you're not going to create a facility in that state. You know, North Carolina is a much more favorable state to set up one of these facilities, but I don't think you're going to stop necessarily servicing your Tennessee patients that are in your CRM. You know what I mean? Just because they passed this law.
Well, I mean, other companies do that. So, like, some tobacco companies do like giveaways of certain things.
Maybe they could be like other cannabis companies and hire a secondary firm to handle all of their logistics for those customers.
Well, I mean, again, if you're trying to build something long term, you're not going to think that way. Why
wouldn't you
get yourself in trouble?
You're hiring a secondary firm.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the problem is all these companies are trying to build something long term, but when the ball keeps on moving and they don't know what the rules are going to be tomorrow, next week, and I mean, I'm glad they're at least giving them until next January as opposed to like 2 months like they did here in Florida, and then they went and raided them all and stole all their products and like, oh yeah, sorry guys, you know. Which I think is ridiculous if you're trying to help businesses versus just destroy them. You know, these are two different things here, and I think it continues with the cannabis bias and these people not liking it. But it makes it very difficult, and I really don't know how it's going to survive any interstate commerce challenges coming from one state to another. And then also I think that there should potentially be arguments then, well, now we have an equal protection violation because businesses from out of state are being treated differently than businesses in state.
Exactly.
And I think Florida does, and you are supposed to register with the state of Florida to be able to transfer and ship into the state of Florida products. I don't know if anybody really does it, but they have those gateways as well to say, well, now you have to comply with our state laws. But I think it really, destroys the fundamental intent of the Farm Bill. It really does. The idea of the Farm Bill was to determine an economic viability for hemp. And you can't do that when you can sell it in one state and you can't sell it in another. It's not a controlled substance either under the federal Farm Bill, and hopefully most states have changed their laws as well to that. So, the question is then, what are these people getting arrested for? What are they doing? It's just a travesty, and I really think our federal government has to and should come with strong language in the new Farm Bill to kind of protect all these hemp companies throughout the country, to be able to, have a basis to be able to know and build a long-term company, because they don't know if it's going to be changing and whether or not, like, what's a synthetic considered in Ohio, right? In Florida, we had an opinion out of the 3rd District Court of Appeal in a criminal case that it says, well, they have to show that it was made synthetically. They have an obligation to do that. And I think, as most of you know, when they get it and they test it and they say whether or not it's Delta 8 or Delta 9, they can't say where that product was derived from.
Nope.
And as far as I know, besides Marinol, I don't know of any other, synthetic cannabinoids, unless you're talking about spice, which is a totally different thing. And so I really don't understand what they mean by those things, especially when the Farm Bill in most states say, all the extract compounds, etc. Well, so if I'm extracting something, even if it is in the plant in small parts, or even if they're taking one of the products in the plant and then converting it to something else, isn't that a compound of? Isn't that an extract of? Isn't it an isomer of the plant and not a synthetic? And I think that's where a gray area is going to come into a lot of these states, is like, what are we really doing here? And they don't know at all.
I was going to echo that and say, yeah, they don't know what they're doing either, Michael. They don't understand the definitions that they're even creating, and they don't understand what's underneath it, and that their definitions don't fit the actual plant that they're trying to regulate.
Yeah. And I know in Florida, even though we do have these couple opinions, like for wax and edibles and stuff, right? So technically under 20 grams is a misdemeanor. They charge it as synthetic or the resin of something other than just cannabis, and then it gets charged as a felony. So these people who should be charged as misdemeanors throughout the state are getting charged with felonies, which is a total difference on how that charge affects their life going forward. So, and it's hard. I try to educate public defenders and people throughout the state whenever I go there, and like, listen, if you get a gram of wax and they're charging it as a felony, it's a wrong charge, and try to get other people to fight it. But that's what's going to happen, I think, unfortunately, in state after state, and people are going to throw up their hands and just be like, what did we do? Just
so, Michael,
the Farm Bill.
Yeah.
Do you see this as coming down the pipe as a interstate commerce fight?
I do.
Over hemp? Do you think that the hemp companies are going to be able to take this to the Supreme Court in an interstate commerce clause fight?
I think they should be able to, and I know most courts throughout the country. I haven't really seen many that has dealt with it. The case out of Southwest area, I forget what state it was out of, the Biogen case. They said, well, you can stop it from shipping through. But, I don't think a case has said, well, you can drive it through. You can't stop that interstate commerce, but can they stop it in that state as well? I think is something that has been clearly said that they can through their own regulations, but they haven't delineated whether or not that's, in most of those cases, it's been actors in those states that are. But in some of the cases that we have currently, we're arguing, well, okay, even if it's not compliant, let these people send it back to their manufacturer. Let them send it back to a company or to companies in states where it is legal, instead of just requiring them to destroy it and stop selling those products. And so those fights are going through the courts here in the state of Florida.
Now, would an interstate commerce clause fight like that, and if it did go to the Supreme Court, would that force the Supreme Court to revisit these legal definitions of these terms like hemp and marijuana and cannabis?
It definitely could, absolutely. Because it would first and foremost, I think, have to determine whether or not it fits the definition of hemp.
Interesting.
That's going to be interesting because and then if they try to, they're going to end up getting some false positives. That's going to be interesting.
And realize we've already seen that. I want to say the AK Futures case, there was a case regarding trademark issues and stuff like that centered around Delta 8. And one of the arguments was, well, no, Delta 8 is synthetic and it's not legal. And the federal court specifically said Delta 8 is 100% a legal hemp product.
Interesting. Fascinating.
Fun future for hemp.
Yeah. Man. Well, I guess on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial. The Control Tower from Highly.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's Joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Yes, and we are back. And we are going to roll right into Mr. Michael Minardi's second story. And man, it's some great news, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. Michael, we did cover this story on Friday, and I promised that you would cover it and give your opinion on it on this Monday show. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this.
Sounds good to me. I was ecstatic about this opinion. I got some issues with it, just in the applicability of it. But to me, it was finally the second DCA in Florida was one of the few in the state that had not found this issue, dealt with it in the positive way for us yet. So Florida court rules police can't search vehicles just because they smell like pot. Pointing to laws allowing use of medical marijuana and hemp, a state appeals court Wednesday reversed course and said police officers can't search vehicles only on the basis of smelling cannabis. The second DCA's main opinion said that for generations, cannabis was illegal in all forms, thereby rendering its distinct odor immediately indicative of criminal activity. But the opinion said legislative changes had fundamentally changed the definition and regulation and made cannabis legal to possess in multiple forms. Citing the U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, the appeals court backed away from what it described as the plain smell doctrine related to cannabis. In light of significant legislative amendments to the definition and regulation of cannabis, its mere odor can no longer establish that it is immediately apparent that the substance is contraband. Judge Nellie Kuzman wrote in an opinion fully joined by none other judges. Accordingly, the plain smell doctrine can no longer establish probable cause based solely on the odor of cannabis. Rather, we now align the Fourth Amendment analysis for the cannabis with the test that applies to other suspected contraband, such that its odor is a valid factor to be considered along with others under the totality of the circumstances. Three other judges wrote or joined concurring opinions, including Judge Atkinson, who wrote that what is pertinent to the resolution of this case on its facts is that an officer who smells either raw cannabis or smoke from burnt or burning cannabis has encountered an odor that is no more likely to be indicative of criminal activity than illicit use of legal cannabis. On this record and under the statutes as they currently read, the smell in isolation does not give rise to probable cause to justify a search. But Judge Craig Valente, in the dissent joined by Judge Anne Leigh Gaylord Moe, wrote the changes over the past decade to allow medical marijuana hemp products did not wholesale decriminalize the possession of marijuana. Valente pointed to safety concerns about people driving while impaired by cannabis. People who traverse our Florida highways are entitled to share the roads with sober and safe drivers, Valenti wrote. The majority of interpretation of the law and wholesale erosion of well-developed, reasonable Fourth Amendment analysis will only undermine the evolved public expectations that law enforcement will continue to protect them as they motor along Florida's highways. Although it is legal to drink and drive, you just can't be under the influence to the extent your normal faculties are impaired. The Hillsborough County case stemmed from law enforcement officers in 2023 stopping a car in which Daryl Ortiz Williams was a passenger. Officers smelled cannabis and searched the car, finding bags that included cannabis. Williams, who was on probation at the time, was found to have a drug known as Molly in a plastic bag in his sock. A circuit judge found that Williams had violated probation that led to the appeal, which was considered by the full appellate court. Wednesday's opinion reversed course from a 2021 decision by the 2nd District Court of Appeal that said police were still able to conduct searches based on smelling cannabis. But it took the Tampa Bay area court in line with an opinion issued last year by the 5th District Court of Appeal. The 2nd District also took a step known as certifying a question of great public importance to the Florida Supreme Court to resolve the issue. In a twist in Wednesday's opinion, the court declined to suppress the evidence in Williams' case because the court said our precedent expressly permitted the search at the time it occurred, and law enforcement was acting in objectively reasonable reliance on binding appellate precedent. Florida voters in 2016 passed a constitutional amendment that allowed the use of medical marijuana. Lawmakers subsequently passed legislation to put the amendment into effect and also have allowed the use of hemp and hemp other products. And also in doing so, they did remove both hemp and medical marijuana from the definition of cannabis in the Controlled Substance Act. In his dissent, Valenti wrote that he hopes the Supreme Court will address the issue about searches, but also pointed to the possibility of the legislature getting involved. I am equally hopeful that the Florida legislature is aware of the dilemma that was inadvertently caused by widespread acceptance of hemp and legalization of medical marijuana. He wrote, I invite the legislature to review this issue and to consider that its recent legislation legalizing cannabis for medical purposes has made it easier for nefarious individuals to engage in criminal activity. Because I believe this is great injustice to the citizens of Florida, I dissent from the majority's conclusion that we have no choice but to recede from the plain smell doctrine. The main opinion was joined by Chief Judge Matthew Lucas, Judge Stephen Northcott, Morris Silberman, Robert Morris, Anthony Black, Daniel Sleet, Susan Rothman, Joachim Andre Tevis, Smith, and Susan Labrat. In addition to Atkinson's, the concurring judges were Patricia Kelly and Edward Rose. I think this is great. It has been a question for a long time in this 2nd District Court of Appeal. It's ironic because when we originally passed hemp, the Florida Department of Agriculture came out with a guide for law enforcement. And during that time and in their documents, they had an odor plus analysis that was required for probable cause. So I think this does go in line with what the Florida Department of Agriculture originally said. And I hope that, I don't know if the Florida Supreme Court's honestly going to review it. There was a certification of conflict originally between the Owens Court and the 5th District Court of Appeal cases that had already found that odor was no longer probable cause for a search, and they have 2 opinions out of the 1st District Court of Appeal. This one dealt with police officers smelling it. The 5th District Court of Appeal had one with police officers smelling it and another one with dog search, finding that a dog search was no longer probable cause for search. We do have a couple cases in the 2nd DCA that will be challenging based on the dog searches of vehicles that alerted that cause for a search, because I do believe that that is precedent. I don't think that the legislature could really do anything about this because fundamentally it becomes to a Fourth Amendment constitutional right issue. So unless they recriminalize hemp or recriminalize medical marijuana, I think it'll be very difficult for them to say, oh, the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply to this. I don't think that they can do that in all circumstances. Obviously, that would violate the Fourth Amendment. So hoping that this sticks. I don't really think that the Florida Supreme Court is going to hear it because I think they denied hearing it previously. But who knows, different circumstances, different strokes for different folks. So we'll see if the Supreme Court does accept this opinion, and hopefully at least for the next, until they do, that this law will stand and it'll stop innocent people from getting caught up in the system. And we're seeing this with medical marijuana patients, even when people have it in their containers, are being harassed, pulled out of their vehicle, and their vehicle searched, by 4 or 5 cops, because it's a great use of resources on the side of the road for what they should be completely legal. So I think it's great. I think it's in line with Colorado and a bunch of other states. I know there are some states out there that still find it as probable cause to search, but hopefully these things will continue to change as more education and knowledge comes with cannabis being a legal substance and no longer controlled substance if it's hemp or medical marijuana.
Wow.
And I will say one last thing about the dissenting opinion. The dissenting opinion seems to be more based on their own personal biases than actually what the law reads and the standard for probable cause.
Wait, say that again. Say that again, Michael.
Yeah, I feel like the dissenting opinion, right, it seems to be more based on their own personal opinions than the actual law. And, it's just like alcohol, and it's just like any pill as well. And, you don't have the same smell with pills that you can take, but under Florida law, alcohol is 0.08, but any other controlled substance is to the extent the person's normal faculties are impaired.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's been argued yet that these are no longer controlled substances, so they wouldn't fit under the act either way. But, there still doesn't mean that people are going to be driving high and the cops can't do anything about it at this point.
I believe that impairment is impairment, and it's pretty easy to distinguish cannabis impairment. You know what I mean? And a lot of times if you're cannabis impaired, you're probably just going to be sleeping on the side of the road more than you're going to be driving on the highway. So, that's to me it's pretty ridiculous. And this lawyer is definitely trying to gaslight people and be like, oh, all of a sudden our roads aren't going to be safe because of this new verdict and whatnot. When we know ultimately all that law enforcement wants with this is the ability to be able to search people's cars so they can do asset forfeiture, because it's an easy access point to get them to be able to search the vehicle and confiscate things.
And it's not like they're usually pulling these people over for things like erratic driving, swerving in the lanes, speeding. Every DUI case for cannabis I've had would be, like, I don't know the area, so I made a wrong turn. Yeah. My plate tag has a cover on it. My car was, expired or something, or my driver's license was expired.
I can see
not actually erratic driving like they do for alcohol.
Yeah, not erratic driving, but there is a lot of people that forget to use their blinker at a turn or things like that. So that does happen with a lot of these cases too. In California, a popular one is, we have California stops, out here, California stops, but you have to make a full and complete stop. And so, how they determine that is basically on a count. And so if you don't do the full count at the stop, then you are doing a California stop where you're just, you're stopping, but you're just rolling through still at the same time. And you haven't made a full and complete stop. So therefore you can get a ticket for that.
As a criminal defense attorney, I definitely watch driving all the time, and cops don't even come to a complete stop.
I know.
Like, nobody does.
I know.
Nobody comes to a complete stop. It's amazing.
I think the definition of that should be, what I'm saying, as long as you don't harm anybody, then it's fine. And you're driving with caution, driving with some caution, like at least if you slow down and you see that there's nothing there, should be more about efficiency on the road than all these extra signs. Because all of a sudden some stop sign manufacturer puts stop signs on the sale, and now all of a sudden all these municipalities are like bulking up on stop signs and putting them in all sorts of intersections that they don't even need to be at for any reason.
Or never mind, you're in the middle of the night driving down the road and there's nobody else on the road for miles. Yeah. And you do that and you get pulled over. I think some of our traffic laws are absolutely ridiculous, just criminalizing citizens to continue to fund budgets for police and local governments. Yeah. It's absolutely absurd, And then especially like there's never a cop when there's an accident. Never, there's never a cop that witnesses an accident, right?
Yeah.
So you're not keeping people safe. There, to me, it's a fundamental problem that we have, and it's just another waste of police resources, especially when we can put lead light cams and stuff like that nowadays. In effect, that we don't need cops out there wasting time doing it.
Any thoughts on this, Jess? You're on mute, buddy. You're on mute.
I mean, just that I agree. This is good news. And Michael, did you say that this is going to the Florida Supreme Court?
We don't know if it will. This opinion certified a great public importance for them to do it. But there has been, I know, writs to the Supreme Court before on this issue when there was conflicts between different jurisdictions. But I think this is mostly in line with most of the other jurisdictions currently. So I don't really know if they will or will not take it up. Really don't know.
Well,
it's jurisdictional. Our Supreme Court's jurisdictional, just like the federal Supreme Court. So it's none of these are mandatory. This would be by discretion of them determining whether or not to take it up.
I wonder if Sheriff Grady Judd did a special on this verdict, because he has a pretty popular YouTube channel and he likes to do all of his press releases when they make big busts over there in Polk County. I could just totally see him. I could totally see him siding with that judge and be like having the judge over on his YouTube channel and like, hey, this is so bad. How are our guys supposed to make these searches and we can make these busts now?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's. I've debated him in different things when medical marijuana passed, and this is a drug that kills and ruins his neighborhoods. So.
Yep.
These people that say things like that.
It's so great. Well, you guys, I was searching through the stories today, and I found this story, and I thought it was kind of interesting. It was in the Motley whatever it is, Motley something. It's kind of more of like a stock magazine or stock publication. The Motley Fool, that's what it's called. And they say. Yeah, so they have a prediction, Michael. It's a pretty good prediction, because they say President Donald J. Trump will legalize marijuana in 2026. That's right. One marijuana insider says Monday's Truth Social video is a trial balloon testing support for marijuana legalization. In case you haven't heard, President Donald J. Trump gave his strongest signal yet that the movement on cannabis policy may be imminent and that the federal government may be ready to finally legalize marijuana in the United States. That's not just me saying that either. On Monday, Adam Stetner, chief executive officer of Fund Canna, a leading lender to the marijuana industry, explained that the president's posting of a CBD promotional video on Truth Social reflects a shift in thinking from the White House. It was the first time a sitting president has ever publicly published for Medicare to cover cannabinoids, and is likely a trial balloon testing public support for legalizing marijuana. The translation, he says, is marijuana legalization could be coming, and what the Trump marijuana video says and who made it, on the off chance you haven't seen the video yet. That's right, we got the link for you in the description. But while the president posted the video, he doesn't himself speak in it. Rather, the video was produced by the Commonwealth Project, a nonprofit backed by philanthropist Howard Kessler, and it says it is working to prioritize the 65-plus population by integrating medical cannabis into mainstream healthcare for seniors. The video does, however, appear to have been addressed to the president, praising him for signing the 2018 Farm Bill that removed hemp from the list of the federally controlled substances. And ending with a photo of the president and a call to action. You will deliver the most important senior health initiative of the century, the video promises, that millions everywhere will thank you. So it's pretty clear to whom the video was addressed, and as for the content, well, in format, the video feels like a late-night infomercial describing the recent discovery of the endocannabinoid system within the human body that weakens with age, causing such symptoms as pain, arthritis, and other health issues. The video notes standard medical practice is to prescribe dangerous and addictive pharmaceuticals to treat these symptoms, but argues that hemp-derived CBD is a better alternative to restore the system, curing pain, reducing stress, granting better sleep, and even adding years to a person's lifespan. Sound a bit like a miracle cure to you? But wait, because there's more. A cure for what ails you, and the healthcare system too. More than just a cure for physical pain, the Commonwealth Project video argues that widespread use of medical marijuana products could cut up to $64 billion with a B a year from the cost of healthcare in the United States. Well, just to be clear, in that video, it's not the Commonwealth Project that states that. It is actually Fox News that states that. But nonetheless, for a president who's been trying since his first days in office to cut government spending, that's obviously going to sound attractive, and that helps explain why the video was reposted on Truth Social. But of course, there's a catch, because to promote the use of medical marijuana over more expensive traditional pharmaceuticals, the video advocates extending Medicare coverage to purchases for medical marijuana. If the federal government ends up spending money on marijuana to save money on drugs sold by Big Pharma, I suspect marijuana investors are going to be A-okay with that. But when might legalization occur, you guys say? As the Fund Canna CEO pointed out, this video has the feel of a trial balloon to test the reaction to a decision already made or soon to come. Even if this is correct, though, it doesn't mean marijuana will be legalized immediately. With only 3 months left in 2025, even assuming a decision has been made, I'd expect it first to become official at the upcoming State of the Union address, which usually takes place in January, pushing the decision into early next year. And at that speech, the president might call upon Congress to pass a bill for his approval, legalizing marijuana use once and for all. Then would come the congressional debate, votes on the bill in the House and the Senate, followed by a presidential signature some months later. Given strong Democratic support and now support from the other side of the aisle as well, I assume the law will pass easily. Well, don't always fool yourself, because Democrats love to shoot themselves in the foot on this one, but nonetheless, my prediction then is for marijuana legalization by mid-2026, this article states. Well. I enjoyed this article. I thought it was good, and I do agree with the author of this that it is in essence a trial balloon. I don't know if I necessarily would have used the word trial balloon, especially because we had those Chinese weather balloons circulating Montana and other distinct regions across our country. But I do think it was a good floater for him to be able to say, hey, let's throw this out there and see what the American people have to say about this. And what do y'all have to say about this, Jesse and Michael?
My only complaint is it's he came out, it's like 6 weeks now. He said we're going to revisit this in a few weeks.
Well, you got to understand Trump language, bro. I've been telling everybody this. You got to understand Trump talk. And
a few weeks really means like a year.
Hey, no, just a few weeks means like, hey, we're working on it, and we'll get around to it. You know what I'm saying?
He's full of shit.
No. No.
I think it's just government speak. I mean, like the courts, there's a quick system. It's it's long and prolonged forever and ever in so many things. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is that he's putting this stuff out there. I was at a Cannabis Lab event this weekend, and I encouraged people there, part of big companies. Listen, you guys got the money. Follow up on this True Social stuff. Continue to post educational videos about the endocannabinoid system and other molecules just behind CBD, and continue to get that information out there, because I think it's awesome. It's a great start, and whether or not it's 6 months or 9 months or a year, at least hopefully we know someone's doing something and they're pushing it in the right direction as opposed to long direction. And for me, I'm continuously arguing criminal cases that it's not rationally based and not, shouldn't be a Schedule 1 substance. And I think all this information that continues to come out about it, the 52-page HHS report, this video from True Social, clearly shows that cannabis doesn't belong in a Schedule 1 substance, and it's unconstitutional for it to continue to stay there, in my opinion.
I agree with you, Michael, and I'll even take it a step further. That I'll say that based off of the president sharing this video, I'd say that Truth Social is a platform that you can advertise your hemp derived products on based off of him sharing this video. You see what I did there, Jesse? All right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple things. Like, it's funny to say that the video that he shared is the biggest flag that shows that he's going to do something. He literally came out and said he's going to do something.
Yeah,
so I would think that's the biggest flag.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
What's interesting about the video is that it was so focused on the endocannabinoid system and really the medical underpinnings that doctors need to start thinking about and the knowledge that needs to be there. I'm sure that shook up a lot of doctors who don't even know about that system, which is totally the case. There's many, many doctors. In fact, most doctors in America don't even know that the system exists in the body in the first place. So the fact that there's a video highlighting that and that's going to cause conversation around that, I think it is a smart move. It's clearly strategic. He is being very strategic, and I do like that. He's the most vocal about cannabis of any president so far. So these things are all good. I just wish that he would move a little faster, because I think it's in everybody's interest to move faster and not put this off for another year and another year and another year.
It's all about it's all about the timing, bro. It's all about the timing, bro. It's all about the timing.
I get that, but for us who are in the industry who've been waiting for this for 15 years or more,
Jesse, a month, an extra week, a month, an extra week isn't, to me, as long as it happens before the end of his 4 years, I'm fine with it. I don't care when it happens.
Yeah, it's easy for some of us to say, but meanwhile, there's businesses that are dying on the vine, and this kind of announcement, and people in jail, and all kinds of other things. So there's very real world consequences that are happening and being delayed because of this. So yeah, Michael, that was a great point. I mean, first of all, expungements and stopping people from being arrested for cannabis is the first thing. Like, nobody should be in jail at all for this or continuing to go to jail, and that's still the case. And then all of the business struggles. I mean, there are people who are struggling not even month to month because they chose to be involved in this industry, and it's very, very hard, and a delay on this decision makes it harder.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And Jesse, on your point about people being in jail, I do want to make sure to make a quick note. I don't know if I've said this before on the show, but I have assembled a top-notch legal team from a whole host of different aspects. That what we are doing is we are helping individuals obtain pardons under this administration. So if you know anybody that needs a full presidential pardon while we have President Trump in office, reach out to me. I can definitely help you secure that with my qualified legal guys that are all working on this. And the sooner we start, the sooner you can possibly have a pardon. So make sure that you reach out if that's something that could benefit you in your life, your family, and so forth.
Yeah, Jason, we should definitely talk about that. To me, the dated like the sodomy laws, right? Like, people, it's still on the books in some states, but no one's enforcing it. But to me, it's just as ridiculous, right? It's something people doing in their private home without hurting people. If you're out, so stoned, you can't drive and you hurt someone, that's a different story. But that's not what's happening in this country anywhere. So I think really, the sooner the better, because this is a travesty of justice. It's inhumane for criminalizing people for a plant.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, this was fun, man. This was a fun story to end the day on with a 2026 prediction, Jesse. Michael. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai are somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.